What's good, everybody in Chicago? This is Kahlief here. I am rocking with all of you and everybody in the Halo universe because we have some fantastic Halo Infinite footage to show you. Huge thank you to our friends over at Microsoft for giving us the game early. We've been playing through it for a couple of days. We're going to go through 4 of the missions, or at least pieces of some of the missions. You'll see some footage from some of that, but this will not be a preview talking about the campaign story in any real intricate details. I don't want to go through that yet. I haven't finished it yet in that way, but I want to give you a feeling of what the game feels like when you kind of pick up the controller and start to play it. You know, how does it look? That's been one of the big conversations about this game is, have they hit that fidelity mark that we were really hoping for? You know, how do the guns feel when you're kind of getting into battle? And going through a little bit of the sights and sounds of the game. It's going to be mostly around that for this video. Again, we'll do a lot of the heavy lifting on our review video coming out later on in the year, but I am very excited to jump into it, and here we go. Halo Infinite is a gorgeous game. The visual splendor levels are just off the chain. You can see so many different small details that 343 has put into the game to really just, you know, up the ante in terms of how they're looking at showing what this new world of Halo can look like. Small imperfections in Master Chief's armor that really shine through in the model. You know, the way the sun bounces off of weapons and vehicles, little animals running around the battlefield that jump into their holes because they're scared. It's all these small details that really bring this version of the Halo universe to life. I have to give massive kudos to the folks over at 343 for really pulling together something that is gorgeous to look at and even more fun to play in. One of the other huge aspects of Halo Infinite is all around the sound design. You know, they have nailed so many different small details that you just feel every time you're in the battlefield. Things from just the soundscape of the water, the way that, you know, everything feels like you're running in this kind of hefty suit. You know, the sounds of your footsteps kind of clomping across the ground. And that doesn't even go into the sounds of the weapons themselves. You know, shooting something that is throwing a projectile across the world and smacking into a body, it just has this visceral sound to it that is just a delight to listen to. You know, you want to pick up a sniper rifle and shoot it just to hear how it sounds at this point. And they've just nailed so many parts of, you know, what it takes to kind of bring this new Halo into this new space and really making it feel and sound and look different in a way that is really discernible to the player, which I think is something that is always really difficult to do, especially when you have such iconic sounds that you have within your library to dig through. It feels like everything that they've chosen to do to revamp the classic sounds that we've known to come to love, like Master Chief's shields regenerating, or the way that a warthog sounds when you roll down the street. It just sounds fantastic, especially if you're wearing, you know, surround sound headsets where you're hearing everything from around you, from enemies kind of rolling up on you to bullets kind of flying past your head. They just have really taken the time to go the extra mile when it comes to sound, which has been so awesome. One of the other conversations around Halo Infinite has always been about performance. We've moved into the new era of the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X, and a lot of folks are wondering if this is the game to purchase to kind of justify the purchase of your next-gen console. All the footage you've seen so far in this video has been captured from an Xbox Series S. It has felt extremely good. It has felt buttery smooth, no drops in frame rate. All the fidelity that you see here is pretty much what you're going to see when you get it on an Xbox Series S. I will be playing on an Xbox Series X for our review, so expect maybe a bump in some of the fidelity across the board there. But I wanted to show what this game looks like on, you know, the kind of lower end spec version of the console so far. I think I'm excited to see what this is going to look like when I pop this into the Xbox Series X and showcase the fidelity there. But from a performance perspective, nothing felt out of place. Everything felt buttery smooth. Getting in and out of menus was fantastic. Everything else in terms of, you know, me running through the open world or me being in a space with lots of enemies, everything felt pretty good. And you'll probably not really run into, you know, more than about 10 enemies probably at a time in a section. But it feels like even when you're at the kind of highest levels of engagement, that the Xbox Series S and X, from what I've played on it, feels like it's knocking it out of the park in terms of performance. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about mission structure, which I found to be really, really interesting. Of course, again, with Halo going open world, the conversation has always been around, so what do you do when you're in the open world version of Halo? And the game opens up pretty early in terms of giving you more options to do more things. You start through, you know, a couple of the early beginning missions. You get some story beats there. And then the world opens up to begin to kind of give you that more open world feel, where you have, you know, different outposts you can go check out. You have kind of enemies to kill that are special enemies. And then you also have, you know, these missions where you're going and saving other grunts that are in the forces. So it doesn't look like there's going to be super big amounts of variation in terms of missions and kinds of missions that you'll be undertaking within Halo Infinite. Again, this is a very early take on the game. I was told to only play through the first 4 missions and a couple of other side missions. So that may open up a little bit later on in the game. And again, we'll be talking about that specifically in our full review when that drops. But yeah, I am absolutely having a blast with this game. It is definitely hitting all the levels and all the things that I had hoped for with this kind of new iteration for Halo and the Master Chief. I'm really excited about seeing more of where this story is going to go, and really excited to see what other kind of enemies we're going to be able to take on within that space. And so far, from the gameplay that I've gotten a chance to take in, the enemies are really interesting. We're seeing new kinds of enemies. We're seeing new kinds of baddies within this game that we haven't seen before, that actually changes the way that you should be playing this game and thinking about weapon choices and all of that therein. And that to me is really exciting to see that the folks from 343 have been thinking big brain in terms of adding more variety within that space, because that was the major hiccup for a lot of the series for a long period of time. Was we felt like a lot of the enemies were kind of revamped and rebundled up to give us some differences there. But I do feel like this game is going to give us really interesting fights, really cool mini boss battles as well, which I think was a really good addition to the game. And then having those kind of bigger, larger fights, with the difficulty being pretty interesting and good in terms of, I'd never felt like I was overwhelmed all of the time, but when you did have to have your head on a swivel, which was also a new thing for the Halo franchise for me. I love that part of the gameplay, and I'm super excited for you all to check it out. So with that said, thank you so much for checking out our preview. Again, we'll be having our review up very, very soon when embargo drops. So make sure you're checking out all of our feeds, and make sure you're checking out all the information there. And definitely give us a like and a sub. Please hit the notification button. Some more of the videos that you get a chance to see from us hit your inbox, and then we'll see you all very, very soon. Much love to you all, Chicago. Peace.